I think there is an agenda, and I think a lot of them really were enthralled with mRNA technology, and they thought this is going to be the new thing. And they really kind of, in some ways, secretly loved the idea that they could experiment because so many people, were there and so many people were frightened. But, as far as I think it was also about submission, I guess. I mean, this is something I learned. I was last week in California, and I didn't realize this. A guy came up to me and said his mom died, 83, from COVID. He thinks from remdesivir. But anyway, she goes to the hospital with COVID, and she's very, very sick, and her oxygen level's low. But they wouldn't admit her to the hospital until she was vaccinated. And it's like, that's what kind of moron thinks that you vaccinate somebody with the disease they have already,
right,
while they're sick? In fact, the CDC used to say, when they were a little more honest, and this is when they were recommending the vaccine, they said if you've been sick, you shouldn't get the vaccine for 3 months until your immune system has normalized from having the naturally immune response. And this is a craziness, because if you think that the myocarditis or the inflammation of the heart comes from too aggressive of a response to the vaccine, if you're sick and you get the vaccine, your incidence of an inflammatory syndrome like the myocarditis is much greater. In fact, I really think it's malpractice at that point. I think it's malpractice to require this on anybody, but particularly to push it on children, but also then to do it without even taking into account whether someone's either had the disease or actively with the disease. I think it just beggars belief that these people are doing it. You do start to wonder, do they have an agenda? Why are they doing this? But the vaccine community for so long has been about submission. They discount anybody who challenges them, and they believe that they're on the side of righteousness and anybody else should just be quiet. They don't even accept that there should be a debate. And when there is no debate, there really is no freedom. And so, you can have a variety of opinions, and we don't have to agree on everything on every vaccine, but we should agree on the freedom to make our own decisions.
I agree. Here, Senator Paul. And how do you said, it should be malpractice. On one hand, a lot of this book is really about just a real difficulty of communicating decent, simple ideas in politics. But as a doctor, how do you explain the amount of doctors that, for instance, are telling this person, we're not even going to let you in to treat you unless you get a vaccine while you're sick? How do we look at medicine? I mean, it's one thing to complain about the kid with the earmuffs on that never took a science class, but your peers in medicine have been just as oblivious to known science and going ahead with, I guess, mandates coming down from heads of hospitals or CDC or FDA, but without questioning it at all. And as soon as you question it, you really come into some problems around how we're treating people.
It's not about the sciences when there's a girl who needs a kidney transplant or a heart transplant to survive. I think this was at Duke, at my alma mater. They wouldn't take her, but they also wouldn't administer a test to see if she'd had COVID. Because the thing is, they don't care about the immunity. They don't care about this kid. They care about submission. There's a rule and there's a law, and by golly, you don't do it, you're going to die. You're the unwashed, you're the deplorables, you're going to die if you will not do what we tell you. But the thing is, if they were concerned about the science and they were concerned that this little girl is going to have a depressed immune system, we're worried about her getting COVID, why wouldn't you let her take a test to see if she's already had COVID? In which case, all of the studies now, every one of them show that the immunity you develop from the natural infection is 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times better than the limited, not very long-lived immunity that you might get from the mRNA vaccine.
Which is proven